Tradition. You can't buy it. It's earned the hard way over decades and eras. On the field, on the road, in the mud. With guts and with grit, and firm belief that today could be our day. The Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup is back. Still alive, still kicking, the oldest prize in American soccer. 96 teams, part-timers to major leaguers. Survive and move on, lose, and you go home. So we call all underdogs dreamers and believers. And we ask you again one simple question. Are you up for the cup?
Welcome into day number 2 of round number 1 of the 110th edition of the Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup, and welcome in to Finley Stadium. We've got 10-time participants, Chattanooga FC of MLS Next Pro, going up against USL League 2 and amateur side Corpus Christi, who are making their debut in this competition. Good evening, everyone. Tyler Terrence along with Casey White. Thrilled to have you with us wherever you might be watching. And of course, the U.S. Open Cup. For those of you who know that this is one of the best competitions in all of the land, the longest running single elimination tournament in the United States, consisting of 96 teams, 64 professional sides, 32 of the amateur flavor. LAFC are your defending champions in the City of Angels last year against Peter Vermees' Sporting Kansas City, as there is all to play for in this professional versus amateur fixture. And we'll take a look at a couple of players to watch for this evening, Casey, and starting with number 26 for Chattanooga and Chris Nugent. Keegan Anselin is off to a nice start in league play. He
really is. He started very quickly, 1 goal, 1 assist in the first 2 league matches. He's the player that looks to drive, create in that attacking third, and he'll certainly look to do that this evening.
Meanwhile, on the other side for Manuel Iwabuchi, the head coach for Corpus Christi, he's going to be leaning on Gabriel Rodriguez a lot because he's got a lot of experience, particularly in this competition.
And when playing for Des Moines, Menace did have 2 goals in the 2023 edition of the Open Cup, but a player tonight that will look to hold up play, look to create chances in the final third as well.
And we'll take a look at the starting 11s for both sides, and we're being told that Chattanooga is going to roll out a 4-3-3. And Casey, the trouble is with a lot of these teams, and the same goes for the professional sides who are trying to scout the amateur ones, is we don't know exactly what they're going to look like.
Exactly, and for Corpus Christi on the flip side, you have players that in the back line, like Diaz, Fiorini, that are going to have to be really important in organizing the back line against a more well-known team in Chattanooga.
Of course, this Chattanooga FC side, and during their 2nd year in MLS Next Pro, were a part of NISA for several years. Before that, they were in the NPSL. They've gotten as far as the 3rd round to the round of 32, depending on which iteration of the competition you're speaking about, as we are officially underway from Finley Stadium in Chattanooga, Tennessee, as we invite you to turn off the world and turn on the game. A spot in the 2nd round is up for grabs in the 110th edition of the Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup. It is professional side Chattanooga FC and the amateurs Corpus Christi FC to do battle for 90 minutes and perhaps even longer. We've already had 1 cup set in the round of 1 thus far in this year's tournament, and that was Foro taking down Texoma last night. And a couple of early cup set alerts that didn't necessarily come to fruition, as the offside flag immediately is going to come up. Chattanooga FC, of course, are going to be wearing their navy kits, while Corpus Christi are going to be in the white kits with the blue shorts and the blue socks. But Casey, this tournament really is the best, and there's so much to look forward to. But really, for these amateur sides, you know, this might as well be their World Cup final, an opportunity to go up against guys who get paid to play the game, whereas on the other side of the ball, you're really just looking at the weekend warriors and the Sunday league grinders.
Well, and this competition really highlights what's so great about football is on any given day, anyone can win, and that's what's exciting about our sport. And so you have that team that can play for everything, has nothing to lose, can go after it, and then you have the other sides who have everything, you know, to lose in that moment. It can be very difficult, and it's a good test for them.
Well, it really is the catch-22 for the professional sides in these opening rounds, where they're going up against the amateurs. Well, it's a game that you're technically supposed to win, and if you don't win it, then you're going to get a lot of questions being asked the following day. Chattanooga off to a nice start in league play, as that is thumped away by the Corpus Christi backline. As we mentioned before, making their debut in this competition is Gabriel Rodriguez, is battling for the ball, and it looked like he was a little too overzealous and threw an elbow heading into the challenge. And not loving the nature of that challenge is Nick Mendoza, native of Miami, Florida. Here's Callum Watson, England native, a couple too many touches on the ball. And these are going to be important moments for Corpus Christi to try to play out of pressure, or at least maintain some possession of the ball.
Well, I think that's going to be important because they're going to need to take kind of that air out of the game a little bit and show that they can possess as well, and because it can be a physical battle as it goes throughout.
It's Chattanooga FC side, of course, earning qualification via their MLS Next Pro status. Meanwhile, for Corpus Christi, didn't have to go through the local qualifiers. They qualified by being one of the top 9 teams in USL League 2, and a couple of whispers telling us that they were basically ranked 3rd in that USL League 2 pot. So one of the better teams over that summer period, Casey. But when you're looking at those USL League 2 sides, a lot of them are college players, a lot of them are younger guys who are really fit and really active and just trying to stay fresh during the summer months. And talking to Manuel Iwabuchi, that this is a heavily rotated side. There's only about 3 players who have rolled over from that summer team into the team that you're seeing here tonight.
Well, I think you do expect turnover, but maybe not that much.
Early opportunity here for Chattanooga, laid off. Here's Callum Watson, parried away. And the first action of the night for Cuba Grant, the goalkeeper for Corpus Christi, and he's up to the challenge. And for those of you who are watching and do have the volume on, I don't think I need to tell you that it is a rather windy night at Finley Stadium. But an early turnover from Corpus Christi almost resulted in the opening goal for Chattanooga.
Well, it was right when Corpus Christi's getting into that expansive shape, so it's that transition moment that can be extremely dangerous in their final third.
This one has slipped through. It's a good ball for Alex McGrath, the captain for this side. It was poked away, but last touch coming off of McGrath. And it's out for a goal kick. McGrath, a native of Spennymoor, England. Previously was Stumptown AC. It's Keegan Anselin providing the pressure and starting the press for Chris Nugent's side. Chris Nugent, the head coach for Chattanooga, took over in an interim fashion last year when they were in the middle of a coaching transition, and then eventually got the permanent tag heading into this year. This Chattanooga group, of course, playing in MLS Next Pro, and the majority of those teams, of course, are sort of 2 teams or reserve teams for Major League Soccer outfits, but Chattanooga, one of those few who are independent, and allows them to sort of build their roster in a way that allows for a bit more autonomy. Here's Milo Garvagnon, left back for Chattanooga, originally from Albuquerque, New Mexico.
And I think we're going to see a lot of this possession, just trying to change the point from side to side, because there's going to be a disciplined defensive shape from Corpus Christi. So that's ball movement, that speed of play, really important for Chattanooga.
And now here are the important moments for Corpus Christi. Can they get a foot on the ball? Can they demonstrate some sort of composure and not just cheaply give the ball away? Rolling the dice a little bit in the back there is Thiago Diaz, the center back. This is a clean build-up here, though, from the visitors. Rodriguez was able to keep it in play, but he didn't need to as the foul is blown.
When he just has that stature to be able to keep the ball back to goal as well, you can just see draws that pressure in. That's going to be critical for them because that allows you to get numbers a little bit more forward in possession.
Diaz needed to get rid of it. Gianluca Fiori almost gave it away. Steve Louis Jean, the Haitian in the middle of the park, wearing number 15 for Corpus Christi. He's going to be dealing with the likes of Nick Mendoza. Switch to the point of attack is Arthur Medina. And the big switch was originally intended for Fiorini. work from Corpus Christi's Medina again. Just being able to shield the Chattanooga defender for a moment. Rodriguez let it run through. And Chattanooga will clean it up once more. And in the early 7 minutes or so, Casey, it does look like Chattanooga are the professional side. Corpus Christi are struggling to get on the ball.
Yeah, and I think that they are showing that, and also but there's still some technical breakdowns. I think you can see emotion in the game. It means a lot coming into the game, and so I expect to see that settle down a tiny bit, but you're right, Chattanooga is definitely imposing their possession early on.
Here's Rodriguez. McGrath challenging, Anselin pursuing. Big, strong frame of Thiago Diaz able to shepherd the ball out of play. Well, it's an exciting time to be a fan of Corpus Christi, Casey, because they actually were granted League One status in United Soccer League, and the hope is to be able to start play in the spring of 2026. Of course, that is all going to be dependent on the new facility that they're currently building right now, but it's a really great opportunity for them in US Open Cup to test their mettle against a professional side. But it obviously is going to look different when they do, in fact, start professional play and they're able to sort of recruit guys and say, hey, we can actually pay you money instead of you coming to do this just for the love of the game.
Exactly. And from a coaching staff standpoint, a front office standpoint, you have to manage that, the eye on the future versus what you're doing now and how you're building your roster. That can be incredibly difficult. But for players and coaches and staff alike, to know that that's the future and where they're going has to be incredibly exciting for them.
Here's the Haitian Louis Jean. Overlapping run being made by Rodriguez. Corpus Christi able to connect the dots on the big switch. Emerson Nieto. That delivery was rushed, but atoning for his sins is Daniel Larson. Timely intervention for Chattanooga. Trying to go quickly on the other end, but a little bit of a heavy challenge from Thiago Diaz.
But those are the moments that Corpus Christi is going to have to be very careful, because when they do get a little bit of the possession, Chattanooga is looking to transition right away. So while there's a foul, I think it's smart in that moment because they're in an expansive shape, not allowing Chattanooga FC to get forward.
Alex McGrath was trying to go quickly, but didn't realize that the call was actually made against him. Now Rodriguez tasked once again with holding the ball up. And he's able to win the throw-in. Battling with Logan Brown of Chattanooga, product of the University of Dayton. Worked out kindly for Mendoza. Big collision in the middle of the field, but it sort of just looked like a 50-50 challenge that resulted in a bit of carnage. And now here comes Chattanooga in transition. Opportunity in front and eventually cleared away by Diaz.
Well, it's really good from Chattanooga because they're going wide and they're still pressing right away. Corpus Christi is going to have to be really aware of that wide space, because you can see just the absolute threats they have in the penalty area when that ball is served across.
Pressure over on the far side from the University of Virginia product, Daniel Mangarov. Here's Steve Louis Jean. Mendoza. Further along for Tate Robertson, native of Springfield, Ohio. Eludes the first challenge. Now we'll look for delivery. Whipped in by McGrath. Not his best delivery. Header back in, and it'll be handled by Cuba Grant.
You can see the quality that Robertson has playing in connection with McGrath in the wide area, because Corpus Christi wants to defend in a back five, and that is so they can eliminate the wide space, have an extra center back in there, but still Chattanooga finds a way to be able to penetrate the area. is where Corpus Christi can be a little bit careful. They can sit on the ball, but Anselin is so hard defensively to play against because he's constantly buzzing, and then you're forced to play long into this area. But that's something they're going to be very careful of, is making sure they have the right speed of play at the back coupled with the right composure.
And the offside flag is up. Here's Farid Sarsar, native of Mendoza, Argentina. Actually attended Nova Southeastern in Fort Lauderdale. Robertson looking for options and having a go at some of his teammates in the attacking third of the field who weren't necessarily giving him a proper option. Logan Brown lost his footing for a moment, and again, and gets the whistle. Looks like us trying to play pickup.
It really does, doesn't it?
Turf Monster is capable of getting anybody, whether you're getting paid to play the game or just simply showing up on a Saturday morning.
Might get us a little bit more often, but.
Robertson kept it in play. Good defensive presence and repress from Chattanooga. Whipped over for Mangarov. Cuts inside. Just helps it along, then eventually cleared away by Diaz. To the University of Albany, wearing number 25 for Corpus Christi. And there was a little nibble in the back from Gabriel Rodriguez. And it is going to be a set piece for Chattanooga.
Well, when you conceded a lot of the possession, it takes real discipline to just stay in your defensive shape and not get involved in those kind of confrontations. But he was on that back shoulder, and there's really no reason to foul in that moment, because now you're just allowing more numbers to get in and around your penalty area, which is way more dangerous in the situation that they were in.
Decent set piece opportunity now for the home side. So touch, stop, and hit that was a hit in the proper area. Watson helped along. Here's McGrath. Sends it across the face of goal, but good positioning from Cuba Grant, and he's able to smother it up.
I like the buildup there from Chattanooga, because McGrath came from that inside channel. It was reorganized based on the set piece that they had, and really unpredictable in how they got into the attack.
Diaz almost gave it away. McGrath got clipped, and that should be a yellow card, and indeed it is going to be for Daniel Larson. And it's getting a little bit sloppy now for the visitors, embarking in their maiden voyage in the Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup.
When it all starts from the pressing of Anselin, and then McGrath steps in, he reads the trigger really well to step and gets absolutely clipped in this moment.
And now if you're Chattanooga, can you make the most out of the set piece opportunity? You've got two of these in about 2 minutes. Daniel Larson showed the first disciplinary action of the night. Bit of a wasted opportunity for Chattanooga, as it was Mangarov who was just trying to dink it into a dangerous spot. Then launched back in by Garvagnon. Anselin. Double down, and it will be a deep throw-in. This is more like it here from Chattanooga. Watson trying to turn out of pressure. Too many touches in the corner. And Corpus Christi able to emerge with possession. Diaz. Chattanooga clearly pressing high up the field, trying to win the ball back as quickly as possible, but Corpus Christi dealing with the pressure, and quite nicely. And the commentators curse in full effect as they give the ball away.
Well, what's going to be hard is just getting numbers up because they're transitioning to the attack very quickly through Rodriguez. Just can't join him quick enough.
Larson. Nieto. And credit to Corpus Christi because they actually are trying to play and they're trying to string together a few passes, but Chattanooga's press has certainly been on point.
Corpus Christi's definitely finding that expansive shape, like you said, and they're getting into the positions they want to get in. But I think that all starts with Anselin up top, and then every player is reading the triggers really well to step on the ball. So it might not be the first or second pressure that's winning possession for Chattanooga, but eventually they're able to win it.
It was a hopeless ball forward from Gabriel Rodriguez, just trying to make sure he didn't turn it over too close to goal. Chattanooga's supporters providing some excellent percussion, and when Chattanooga was founded back in 2009 in their early NPSL days, they sort of made a real mark on the soccer world in a time where we weren't experiencing as many sellout crowds as we might at the first division, second division, or third division level that we do so often see now. And several years ago, Chattanooga elected to adopt a similar ownership format as the Green Bay Packers, with a lot of the supporters owning part of the club, including 1,800 Chattanoogans. There's actually 3,000 supporters who own at least a small part of the club. And you just love to see that sort of initiative and a real sense of feeling like the club belongs to the fans, because they're going to outlast any coach or any player that is going to come through here. Medina trying to spin his way out of trouble. Watson, once again, too many touches, and Corpus Christi comes away with it. And Nieto was fouled, and it will be a free kick for Corpus Christi.
And you can just see when the possession is in Chattanooga's favor, Corpus Christi goes into that defensive block. It's so incredibly hard to penetrate that. There's so many bodies. So continuing to look for transition moments when Corpus Christi does get out a little bit will be important. And also just changing the point, making them shift a little bit with that ball movement, I think will help as the game goes on for Chattanooga.
Look how deep Gabriel Rodriguez, their striker, is dropping just to receive the ball and try to get some touches on it. And then to your point, Casey, there's no real opportunity to break out with him in a dangerous spot. And speaking of dangerous spots, Chattanooga bearing down on the Corpus Christi back line. Watson. Given away rather cheaply by Milo Gavarian. That's Farid Sarsar going all the way back for Logan Brown, and Chattanooga will recycle.
One thing we haven't mentioned is Chattanooga's organization when they are in possession, in case there is a clearance or a loss of possession, is really good. So it really is a 2 against 1, 3 against 1 at times against Rodriguez of Corpus Christi. So they're just regaining possession really well in those transition moments, and that aids their attack.
Corpus Christi side got all the way to the national quarterfinals of USL League 2. Ended up losing 1-0 after they won the Lone Star Conference. And we talked about their USL League 1 status being granted back in October of last year. Currently building a $28 million Corpus Christi sports complex. And it's going to be the first professional team in Coastal Bend history. And we're seeing more and more often how these, let's call them slightly smaller communities than maybe some of the bigger markets that we'll see in Major League Soccer and top division or even the USL Championship, being able to call a professional sports team their own for the first time. And how about Portland Hearts of Pine, who are going to be embarking in their first competitive journey, period. And speaking with Bobby Murphy earlier this week, sort of saying how there are a few minor league affiliates that exist within the area, but the sports fans really haven't had anything to call their own, as opposed to being under the thumb of the sort of mothership organization. And it's so great to see the beautiful game expanding all over the country. And Chattanooga with some expansive play as Steve Louis Jean going for goal. And Corpus Christi with a sliding effort. It looked like it was Daniel Larson who got a touch to it.
That was much better because it was just a little bit more probing, breaking the line, then playing it off, playing the ball in 1-2 touch, a little bit quicker, and it's hard to react as that defensive unit, and that's why there's so much space that Louis Jean's able to see in that moment.
If you're Chris Nugent and Chattanooga FC, are you happy with the first 25 minutes or so?
I think you're happy with the fact that you've established possession, you have your build-up, and I think they expected to have that in this kind of approach to the game from Corpus Christi. But as far as how they're manipulating space, I think that there could be more speed of play, a little more urgency in that final third to try to draw players out of the defensive shape, would be my thoughts on how he would look at this first 25 minutes.
Rodriguez able to touch it along, and Corpus Christi might be in business here. Here's Gabriel Rodriguez cutting inside. Rodriguez going for goal and parried away by the 40-year-old Eldin Jakupovic.
And this is a good moment for Corpus Christi, getting into the wide channel as Gabriel Rodriguez cuts it back, gets into the penalty box, and just unleashes a shot, trying to curve it into the back post, but a very good save. And luckily, they were organized around that to be able to get the clearance.
Well, first sign of real life in the attacking third from Corpus Christi, and seemingly it is going to be Gabriel Rodriguez who's probably going to string together whatever it's going to be if they are going to score tonight, and that's probably a big reason why he's dropped so deep so many times, like we're seeing right here, just to get a touch on the ball.
And it's so hard to resist against that as a playmaker, as a player that can score, that can finish, to stay higher because you feel like you're not involved in the game at all. And to be fair to him, they're very dependent on him getting on the ball, even in possession, being able to hold up play.
Rodriguez was trying to play quickly, and the referee felt like the ball wasn't exactly where the foul was committed. Nice little layoff pass. Corpus Christi again in on goal. Jakupovic parries it away off of his line and able to collect. So Jakupovic, who really had nothing to do throughout the first 24 minutes, called into serious action over the last two. Here's Anselin driving towards the byline, and his delivery goes wayward after he couldn't quite wrap his foot around it.
And another great moment for Corpus Christi, getting into the box, getting a shot off. Jakupovic with a great save, almost a second opportunity. But what I like from Jakupovic is he looks to play quickly in transition when he gets this ball. I think those are moments for Chattanooga. If Corpus Christi is going to fill into the game a little bit more and go in more of the attacking third, they can take advantage and go long against the back three of Corpus Christi in transition.
Well, one of the main themes that we almost always see when we have these sort of cup sets, Casey, is that the longer you let the amateur side hang around, the more belief that they're going to have that they potentially not only could win the game, but that they belong on the field and that they are just simply playing 90 minutes of soccer, not necessarily against professionals who do this for a living, but just simply that. It's a 90-minute soccer game, and you just have to find a way to win.
100%, and I think you're right on that. And the growth happens within the game, the unit partnerships, the belief that comes with that. And then you start to create chances. There's a real big belief as that starts to happen that, hey, we just need one. We need one to go. But on the flip side, we were just talking about Chris Nugent for Chattanooga. Would he be happy? I think you also have to have an emotional balance as the team coming in expected to win that, hey, let's move the ball, let's keep going at it, and let's see if we can fatigue the other team and make it a little easier on ourselves.
Here comes Corpus Christi again. This time it's Gianluca Fiorini. And he'll be able to keep possession with a throw-in. Nearly a half an hour played, and after it was all Chattanooga for about 20 minutes, Corpus Christi finally starting to find their footing in this first round affair. Poke through for Rodriguez and couldn't quite get a touch to it. And Logan Brown says to Eldin Jakupovic, you can come and get it. Jakupovic has plenty of experience, including over 70 appearances with Grasshoppers over in the Swiss Super League. He's played for the likes of Hull City, Leyton Orient, Leicester City, Everton, and of course LAFC back in 2023. Group in which he only made a few appearances for. He's got one Switzerland cap to his name as well. And rounding out his career with Chattanooga FC. I'm sure he didn't have that on his bingo card when he was coming up through Grasshoppers. Callum Watson watched closely by Diaz. They're claiming that the ball went out of play. We're going to play on for the time being. And eventually this is going to be a goal kick. It goes without saying, folks, but there is no VAR in the first round of the Lamar Hunt US Open Cup. So whatever was going to happen was going to be the final answer to whatever questions you might have had.
Starting to get a little bit combative in this moment. Watson does really well just to draw in the pressure, and you're right, looking for that throw-in, but just continues to play on. A good run there from Mangarov and just gets hit right at the last minute. Pretty clean play, I think, on him, and but a good idea to get the ball across.
Half an hour played here at Finley Stadium in Chattanooga, Tennessee. Tyler Terrence along with Casey White. Thrilled to have you with us for this first round action. Day number 2 of the first round of the 110th edition of Lamar Hunt US Open Cup. We've got a professional side against an amateur side. It's Chattanooga FC of MLS Next Pro against Corpus Christi of USL League 2. Chattanooga making their 10th appearance in this competition. Corpus Christi, they are one of the debutants, and that's a nasty challenge in the middle of the field. And that yellow card is going to be issued to Callum Watson, one of the more experienced players for Chris Nugent. And the 25-year-old from Chelmsford, England, goes into the book.
An incredibly hard challenge right here in midfield. Callum Watson leaves his feet in that moment, and protecting the ball was the Corpus Christi midfielder there that really took the challenge even harder, but was able to draw it in that moment.
Emerson Nieto, the 23-year-old from Fort Wayne, Indiana. A little slow to get to his feet, and he was on the receiving end of that challenge from Watson.
There's just that little moment where he changed his body to be able to shield the ball and draw that pressure in because it wasn't quite a clear possession, but it was good from the midfielder.
Medina almost gave it away, but he's fouled. And then there was contact over on the far side as well, as Keegan Anselin is getting involved in a little bit of shenanigans right in front of the fourth official, who really isn't capable of doing anything in the moment, but he'll just stand and watch and then report to his boss, the middle referee, whenever he gets the opportunity. Farid Sarsar with the block. And the referee is going to call a foul in favor of Chattanooga. Tell you what, there is some serious brass in that supporters section, and that's providing some of the musical entertainment tonight. You strike me as more of like a drum girl or something as far as the percussion is concerned. Yeah,
definitely. I would really be into that. How did you know I tried out for percussion in my middle school band,
you know,
and they didn't take me on?
Some people have a sixth sense for things. I can just sort of tell.
Sports, Casey.
Yeah. Well, whoever said that to you clearly wasn't wrong with the career that you had, but.
Well, thank you. Just taking a look back at the foul right there. It was a really good first touch. It actually looked a little bit soft to me, but protecting the ball with his body in that moment. But I think for our center official, there was a lot of combativeness going back and forth for about a minute, minute and a half. Smart to just call the foul and try to get a little bit more hold of the game as the emotions start to run a little higher.
And it looks like it's Keegan Anselin who's down for Chattanooga. Native of Jacksonville, attended University of West Florida, and actually played for former Chattanooga coach Bill Elliott when he was at West Florida. Anselin slow to get to his feet. We already mentioned how he's got a goal and an assist in the opening stages of MLS Next Pro play, which began a couple weeks ago. And of course, it'd be remiss if we didn't mention the most recent vote that occurred within United Soccer League, introducing what we believe to be promotion relegation within the USL umbrella. And of course, that's going to include the First Division USL. That was recently announced over the past few weeks, and certainly a lot of questions to be answered over the coming months, and starting to see exactly what this is going to look like from United Soccer League. But certainly interesting. And it's not like we haven't had these conversations before, and like this hasn't popped up, but especially with the First Division coming into play, Casey, this feels like a very real conversation now all of a sudden.
It does. It becomes a lot more real when you talk about it that way. So many more clubs involved, so many more players affected, all of those pieces that comes with promotion and relegation.
No promotion relegation in United States Open Cup. You win or you go home. It's as simple as that. And right now, Chattanooga FC struggling over the past 10 minutes or so to really match the intensity from Corpus Christi, who have grown into this game mightily.
One of the things I'd like to see tactically from Chattanooga is their outside backs getting a little higher. When they get beyond the line of the midfield, that's when Chattanooga has looked their most dangerous, building overloads, 2 against 1, 3 against 2 in those wide areas. Without that, they haven't really been able to press as high defensively or create much in those areas.
Larson just trying to get rid of it, and then it's poked through. Thiago Diaz again going with that Cruyff turn, and almost got him in a world of hurt, and Larson able to clear it away.
Well, you can see there weren't any reinforcements for Anselin. They're really not stepping together in the pressing, but you can see what a handful he can be physically, and Corpus Christi is going to have to be really careful in those moments because they're isolated 1v1 in the build-out.
Logan Brown just trying to dink it over the top. It's actually a picture-perfect ball for Tate Robertson. McGrath applying the pressure. Robertson securing possession. Carvalho. Mangarov. Anselin trying to win a corner, and he does just that. And let's see if Chattanooga can take advantage of a set piece. Still no score, and the last two real chances went in favor of the amateur side, Corpus Christi. Anselin standing over it, and will be an in-swinger. The ball in, won by Larson. Sofian Maguz, who with a wayward header, and Corpus Christi able to win it back, and now tasked with trying to play out of the pressure that Chattanooga were trying to keep up while they had the bigger bodies forward. Santa Croce. Maguz. Nice turn from Santa Croce. This is much more like it from Corpus Christi. And was there a foul at the edge of the area? Referee says no. Clean first touch from Juan Di Michelis.
I've been impressed with the cadence and decision-making of Corpus Christi. At times they play quick, 1 and 2 touch. At times they go off the dribble.
Wasn't a bad idea for Gabriel Rodriguez. Nieto. Di Michelis almost gave it away. Medina. Good sense of where the pressure was for Nieto. The back heel almost came off. Pops out for Maguz, and he'll have a go from distance. And Jakupovic had his feet moving, and it was actually a little bit closer than I think even he thought.
It did look like from that distance it was going to sail a little bit more over the top, but it goes really well for Maguz right here from a long-range shot. A good strike, and had a little bit of bend on it coming back towards Jakupovic, able to leave it. But I think that was a great opportunity after a really good spell of possession for Corpus Christi. Really good decision-making in that middle third play.
Chattanooga winning their first 2 games in MLS Next Pro League play by defeating Huntsville City, as well as Inter Miami 2. They'll take on Atlanta United 2 on the road this upcoming weekend. And after that, they'll be home against Orlando City U23s. And we'll trickle out for a goal kick. Well, there are some other games going on right now in the first round of the Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup. Columbus Crew 2 are up 2-0 on the New York Renegades. Inter Miami 2 and Miami United are locked at 0-0. That game is just in the 11th minute. And Appalachian and 1 Knoxville 0-0 in the 6th minute. And Virginia Dream with a 1-0 lead over the Richmond Kickers inside of the first dozen minutes. So we've got an early cup set alert on match day number 2 of round number 1. And might we have a cup set here? Corpus Christi have certainly knocked on the door a couple of times to be deemed, at least by their adversaries, as worthy opponents.
I think there was definitely an expectation coming in that they would need to be really structured defensively, compact shape, and they've shown that they can do that in the middle third and in their defensive third, switching in and out of their different blocks. But what I've been really impressed with is just their ability on the ball to decide when to move the ball quickly, when to just settle play and build numbers, and then they've done a good job in managing this first half.
And that was one of the things that Manuel Ibucci praised Chattanooga of, was being extremely disciplined and well organized, particularly in the middle of the field. Louis Jean commits the foul in the middle of the park, and it's a free kick to Corpus Christi. Well, the majority of this Corpus Christi group made up of Division II and NAIA guys, a couple of Division I players thrown into the mix, but for the most part, when you're looking across the board at some of the other amateur teams that are participating in this competition, Casey, you look at Corpus Christi and it's not like the dazzling resume that you might see. And I'm not talking about the Des Moines Menaces of the world and, you know, a team that's going to sport 13 MLS legends, but this is probably one of the, I would say, inferior amateur sides in terms of where they played, but they look every bit the part in terms of a group that's at least up for the challenge for the first 45 minutes. And we've seen plenty of occasions where it can all unravel in the second 45.
Right, the game plan is there, and they're executing it in these moments. That's what's really important, and just making it difficult on their opposition. That's what you want to do. You want to come in, make it difficult. You gain confidence. There might be an elevation of frustration for your opposition, so you're hoping for that, and you just want to eliminate mistakes so you can build into the game.
Speaking of Des Moines Menace, they're going to be kicking off in about 13 minutes against Sporting Kansas City 2. And one of the biggest stories of that game is Benny Feilhaber, of course, Sporting Kansas City legend, who used to coach Sporting Kansas City 2, is playing for Des Moines Menace, which has ruffled some feathers, to say the least.
It's kind of fun, though. That's kind of fun. Makes for an interesting story.
Yeah. And our good friends Mike Watson, Devin Kerr will be on the call. Logan Brown pushing it forward. And Tate Robertson with his only option to go negative. And you can tell he's barking at Alex McGrath to push forward and get a little bit higher so he can have more room to operate. Chattanooga supporter section trying to spur their team on to a potential go-ahead goal right before the halftime whistle, as we're going to have 2 minutes of stoppage time at the minimum at the end of this first half. And it could be a very important 2 minutes for Corpus Christi to get to the dressing room and recollect themselves for the second half. And Chattanooga right now in clear possession and making Corpus Christi work for it. And on cue, the ball is played out.
And there's some opportunity for Chattanooga to find space between the back line and the midfield line of Corpus Christi. But it goes away and disappears really quickly when they get into the final third. It has to be when they're building out from their backs, and there's some space to get into there. But other than that, it gets really tight defensively, and then it becomes, how do you stretch out the back line of Corpus Christi? And it's easier said than done.
Credit to the center backs Juan Di Michelis, Thiago Diaz, and Daniel Larson, who are doing an excellent job of gumming up the middle of the park. Given away in the middle of the park. McGrath. Long for Callum Watson. Now Anselin. Probably one of the final moves of the half. Last touch actually looked like it came off of Watson, and it is going to be a goal kick. That's a fabulous call from the referee, and I do not say that often. And it's nothing personal, Casey, but it's just the best referees blend in. You don't want to call their name.
That's very true. That's very true. But you gave some credit there. I like that.
Yeah. I'm not a monster, contrary to what you might see on X. Well, that's going to do it for the first half. Corpus Christi up for the challenge against Chattanooga FC as the amateur side, giving everything that Chattanooga can handle, at least in the last 20 minutes of the first half, really growing into this game, forcing a couple of good saves out of the veteran goalkeeper Eldin Jakupovic. Kuba Grant was busy in the first 20 minutes, but credit to Corpus Christi in their debut in this competition. They are level with Chattanooga. Casey, what are your thoughts on the first half?
Well, I think Chattanooga started off quickly. As you mentioned, Corpus Christi grew into the game. They were really disciplined, and they found ways to get numbers forward. So it'll be interesting to see how Chattanooga adapts in the second half to get a little more opportunities.
Well, we're going to step aside, and we appreciate you tuning in wherever you might be. Second half kickoff is about 15 minutes away in this amateur against professional fixture. Chattanooga FC and Corpus Christi locked at 0-0 at the moment. Plenty to talk about in the second half, and I'm sure plenty of fireworks as well. Don't go anywhere. right, just about set for the second half between Corpus Christi and Chattanooga. We'll do it all over again for 45 minutes. We'll flip sides. Chattanooga in their navy blue kits. Corpus Christi in their white with the blue shorts and the blue socks. All locked at 0-0. Both goalkeepers had to make a couple of saves in the first half. What does the second half have in store? You're gonna have to stick around and find out, as potentially we might have a cup set here in Chattanooga, Tennessee, as Corpus Christi looking to become the second side, at least that we know of at the moment, to upset a professional group in the first round. This is the 110th edition of the Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup as we celebrate 11 decades of, quite simply put, one of the greatest tournaments on the face of the planet. Tyler Terrence along with Casey White. Thrilled to have you with us wherever you might be tuning in. And as we head into this second half, Casey, we already talked a little bit about in terms of who's going to be the happier of the two coaches and everything like that. But let's start with this Corpus Christi group, because if you're Manuel Ibucci, the head coach, it probably is just more of the same, or at least more of what they saw in the last 25 minutes of the first half.
This is exactly what you want. This is the position you want to be in if you're Corpus Christi, but staying disciplined is a big challenge, and so they're going to have to really try to do that, especially as physical and mental fatigue can set in. So the more times that they're able to possess like this and enjoy the ball, that can help take their brain and give it a little bit of a rest from a defensive standpoint, and they can enjoy going forward.
Well, we did have one substitution at the half, and it came by way of Chris Nugent and Chattanooga FC, as Min-Jae Kwok, the 24-year-old from Suwon, South Korea, comes onto the scene in his second season with the group. And Steve Lewis-Jean gets ripped down from behind by Arthur Medina, and he immediately goes into the book. And speaking of bookings, that's probably one of the biggest reasons why Callum Watson came off and Min-Jae Kwok came on, because the last thing you want to do if you're Chris Nugent is to go down a man against an amateur side, and Medina's going to go into the book for a rather reckless challenge on Lewis-Jean.
There's just a lot of space to penetrate there, not good positioning from Medina, so an obvious call in that moment, but there are some spaces there for Chattanooga. You can see Corpus Christi trying to get a little bit more forward, and so there might be some transition moments in there that Chattanooga can take advantage of.
Relatively high line here from Corpus Christi. As it's laid off for Tate Robertson. Put into space for Daniel Mangarov. And his delivery is denied by Medina, who just recently picked up the yellow card, and a set piece opportunity again from the corner this time for Chattanooga.
The recognition was really nice on that set piece. Nobody in the wide space defensively for any type of overlapping run or whatever may come from that. So I like that from Chattanooga.
Ball whipped in towards the back stick, and there was a free header available, and Chattanooga are claiming there was a deflection. But they're not going to get any sympathy from the referee.
I like the trajectory of this ball and the location it gets to, the back of the six, and Anselin does go up for the header. It's over Medina, and just not able to direct that down and on frame.
Poked into space for Tate Robertson. Didn't have too many opportunities to get forward in the first half. This is more or less where we saw the line in the sand drawn by Corpus Christi in the first half. Happy to let Chattanooga have the ball in these types of spaces. And right around midfield, or a little bit past it, is where they're going to start to really squeeze the home side and try to turn them over. That clearance was eventually a convincing one as the header flicked along. Now here's Gabriel Rodriguez. He was responsible for one of the two best chances of the first half, and now the offside flag is going to go up. And that was Gianluca Fiorini, who was the guilty party for Corpus Christi.
You mentioned the line of confrontation for Corpus Christi. They really have just held at this positioning, just making sure, you know, they'll let them play around the back. And we haven't seen Chattanooga's outside backs get super high. A little bit more from Tate Robertson off the right, but if they can get a little bit higher, that'll eliminate some players from Corpus Christi in that defensive block.
There's Daniel Larson, who was a wall at the back for Corpus Christi in the first 45 minutes. Again, this is a heavily turned over roster from the group that got all the way to the USL League Two national quarterfinals over the summer. Obviously, most of their college players who helped them get to that point unavailable to play, so they needed to find some bodies, and most of them coming from Division II and NAIA teams. Chattanooga embarking in their second journey in MLS Next Pro. Of course, a very proud club that participated in NISA, which was operating at the third division in the American soccer pyramid for several years. But before that, when they were founded in 2009, until 2019, operating in the NPSL and drawing an amateur club attendance record crowd for a championship match against New York Cosmos B in 2015. More than 18,200 were on hand here in Findlay to watch Chattanooga lose in that championship match. Here's Lewis Jean. Nation trying to split two lines for Corpus Christi and falls into the hands of Kuma Grant.
But it does feel like there's a little bit more intentionality in what Chattanooga FC is doing from the center back starting build out, trying to dribble penetrate a little bit more, just trying to break lines and draw out the defensive block of Corpus Christi. I think if they continue to do that, it'll be good for them.
Heavy touch given away by Nieto. And that curling attempt never really had any curl on it. And Milo Garvanyan is probably going to want that one back. He played with New Mexico United in 2023. Limited playing time, came up to the Rapids Academy, and then eventually attended University of North Carolina, who I hear is also operating in a single elimination tournament in a fraudulent capacity this year, Casey.
Oh, get out of here with that. They got that first win. Let's go.
Casey White, of course, a legend of University of North Carolina soccer, playing for the great Anson Dorrance. Couple of nice feints here. Sent to Croce. White. Gianluca Fiorini will go their way through the Chattanooga defense. Maguz is battling for it. Lewis Jean also in the mix, and the referee said it was a clean challenge. Anselin trying to lay it off. And that should be a foul on Anselin. And it's going to be a yellow card as well, and he showed a bit too much of his boot heading into that. Now it's Emerson Nieto, the 23-year-old from Fort Wayne, Indiana. Caught the brunt of that challenge.
And Anselin does give up the ball in possession in transition, tries to react for it. And like you said, a little bit too much of the boot showing going against Nieto. Like the reaction from Anselin, but this doesn't serve them well at this point to give Corpus Christi these opportunities.
So Anselin goes into the book, and we're starting to see more and more yellow cards flying. Maguz sends it in. Fiorini. Pardon me, that's Santa Croce. Indiana Wesleyan product, originally from London.
One of the things talking to Chris Nugent for Chattanooga was trying to figure out how to marry the longer spells of possession, but also the intentionality to penetrate and go forward, get more box entries. I think if coaches could figure that out completely, they would be winning every single game. It's very, very difficult to make those decisions, but they do look to go forward here, which is really important for them as they try to make Corpus Christi uncomfortable.
McGrath with a clever idea for the back heel, didn't quite come off. Good composure though from Juan DiMichelis, who's been on that back three and operating in a real strong capacity for Corpus Christi. That was Medina and company trying to double down on the ball, and bodies are hitting the floor like it's going out of style, and right in front of the Corpus Christi bench as well. Mentioned how there were already some other games unfolding throughout the rest of the first round in the Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup. Miami United still leading Inter Miami 2 by a score of 1-0 in the 43rd minute. Richmond Kickers have equalized amateur side Virginia Dream 1-1 in the 43rd. Lexington SC and Southern Indiana just recently kicked off, and Lexington already up 1-0. And Des Moines Menace and Sporting Kansas City 2 is also at 0-0 on that Des Moines Menace side. More or less could be a 2013 MLS All-Star group with the likes of Sasha Kleshtin, and that's a really, really heavy challenge. And that was Gianluca Fiorini. Went a little too hot into that tackle, and another set-piece opportunity for Chattanooga.
It's just a case of being caught on the wrong side of the ball. You're recovering, you're retreating back, and the foul definitely comes from Fiorini in that moment.
Over under how many hamstrings are going to be off the bone by the end of that Des Moines Menace game?
Oh, I don't even want to say. I'll
set the line at about 2.5.
All right.
Frigid temperatures as well in Swope Park Village, right outside of Kansas City. As Tate Robertson trying to put this into a dangerous area, and that's got to be frustrating if you're Chris Nugent, because that's about the third or fourth time they've tried to do something clever from a set-piece opportunity, and it's just ways away from coming off.
Well, especially in a U.S. Open Cup game where it's about execution, and that might be the difference. Yes, okay, in preseason, try some things, but we saw it also in the first half with some of the corner kick service as well. It just left those opportunities on the table to try and take the lead.
There's already shouts for time wasting from some of the more unruly fans here at Finley Stadium. Keegan Anselin was also motioning towards his wrist, saying that Cuba Grant was taking a little bit too long. But I would venture to say that in the 58th minute, Casey, it's just a little bit too soon for the time wasting.
Seems a bit premature.
Yeah. Challenge was a clean one in the middle of the field, says the referee. Push along for Maguz. Numbers arriving here for Corpus Christi. Rodriguez. Forward control there from Emerson Nieto. This one attempted to play towards Keegan Anselin, and now Mangarov might be in business. Trying to get on that left foot. It took a deflection, and Cuba Grant quickly off of his line. And a rather haphazard attempt at a counterattack from the home side.
And just in those moments, it's just almost calling for someone to just put their head down, go in the 1v1 and be dangerous. You do that, it makes the back line uncomfortable. It makes them step back a yard or two. Then the next attacking sequence, you may be able to play and combine around, but there has to be that push and pull of the type of attacking.
And Thiago Diaz goes down.
Every goal all season, Zaya's Korean Steakhouse is giving away dinner for two. Enter to win by scanning the QR code now or after every CFC goal.
Grant looking for an option. Followed up by Daniel Larson. And he's done that a lot tonight, where he's stepping up from that left center back position along the back three for Manuel Iwabuchi, the head coach for Corpus Christi. He's been disrupting that right side of the attack for Chris Nugent. It's a good ball for Anselin. Couldn't quite control it. Mangarov in the neighborhood, dealt with by DiMichelis. He's been excellent tonight. And then Maguz with a chop to get away from the initial pressure. And putting the brakes on is Medina and Corpus Christi feeling themselves at the moment. And that is really well done. I'll tell you what, that's got to be the 4th time where I'm praising somebody for their ability to control the ball, and then they just zip it out of play.
I mean, I didn't want to say anything.
You can say as much as you want. The commentator's curse has been alive and well. But it never works for you, for the analyst. It never seems to come to fruition in that manner. It's only for play-by-play.
You never know.
But then it's just a coincidence. It's not sort of like it's not a curse, if you will. A little more than an hour played here at Finley Stadium. Still 0-0 between Corpus Christi and Chattanooga FC. The latter of which the professional side, the amateur side, participating in USL League 2, Chattanooga and MLS Next Pro. This is what the US Open Cup is all about. An amateur group with the ability to dream, with the big opportunity to knock off a side who gets paid to do this for a living. And the group wearing white tonight, they just simply show up because they love the game. As that's cleared away by Thiago Diaz. And that backline continues to be very organized, very firm, and no nonsense. Lewis Jean. Players inside of midfield for Chattanooga FC. And this is the deepest player, Farid Sarsar, originally of Mendoza, Argentina. And well played by Juan Di Michelis. No relation to Argentina Bayern Munich legend Martin Di Michelis, who of course is coaching Monterrey in Liga MX. For Sarsar, and even further for Eldin Jakupovic, who was a busy man for about a 10-minute stretch in latter portions of the first half, as that one is out of reach of Tay Robertson, and it goes out of play back to Corpus Christi, and the frustration continues to mount for the home side.
I think this is another opportunity, though, to press in that moment. That's a great decision, though, by Diaz to break 2 lines in possession. But I think Chattanooga can press the 3 backs that are building out. They haven't looked as comfortable in possession, and Anselin has been really close a few times to dispossessing.
There he is again, almost caught Diaz, and some more confusion between Di Michelis and Cuba Grant, and eventually Di Michelis able to get rid of the momentary pressure, and now Grant, who's asked to distribute. Pushed along, whipped in by Kwok, and dealt with by Diaz, straight up into the air. Grant just has to bat it away. He didn't feel comfortable catching it. Helped along by Robertson. It's a good ball for Kwok. Larson going into the challenge. Shouts for a foul. Larson goes to ground. And it'll stay with Chattanooga. And not before we have a stoppage for a substitution. And it looks like it is going to be Juan Di Michelis, who's gingerly trotting over to the midway line, and he's going to be replaced. But Di Michelis has been an absolute warrior tonight. And not only that, but very composed on the ball as well. And Matthew Roberts is going to replace him here in the 65th minute. Not exactly sure if that was a planned substitution or something that Iwabuchi was thinking about doing, but it looked like DiMichelis might have tweaked something.
It did look like that in the last build-up pattern when they were trying to get out, but also a lot of physical work being done by that defensive group, and they're being called upon to build out as well in possession.
This one sent across the middle. Keegan Anselin was there. Thiago Diaz felt like it might have been a goal kick, but instead it is going to be a corner for Chattanooga. And that's where things can start to get difficult for these amateur sides, the fitness and operating at these levels of speed throughout the course of a 90-minute match.
McGrath just able to get around the outside. I think that wide space really important for Chattanooga, and he shows what he can do in the 1v1 isolation.
In swinger, Grant caught it and wants to go quickly. Medina has been mighty impressive in the middle of the field. Almost gave it away, but he's got great feet and a good understanding of where the defenders are, where the pressure is.
Yeah, I think you detailed that well. He's just been really good at understanding pressure, understanding when to go forward versus when to kind of absorb the pressure and allow players to join him in their attacking presence.
Larson just dinks it over the top. Another hopeful ball for Rodriguez. Maguz. Thiago Diaz. Wasn't a bad idea, and it's going to be nodded back by Logan Brown into the safe hands of Eldin Jakupovic. Corpus Christi just making their first appearance in this competition. Chattanooga have been here 9 times, excluding this foray into the U.S. Open Cup. And right now, it is the debutants who are giving Chattanooga all sorts of problems and have been really resilient defensively. They have bent, they have not broken, and they've really managed to not concede any big opportunities to Chattanooga whatsoever. The 2 best chances of the night have gone to Corpus Christi.
Well, as the game goes on, they're even changing how they press and their pressing shape, which is, I'm very interested if there wasn't a foul called there, but oh, there, maybe the reaction from Gabriel Rodriguez.
My only issue with that, as I am going to bash on the referee for the first time tonight, is that there's no reason to stop it because Chattanooga had
Correct.
possession and were on a counterattack. You can issue that yellow card for dissent after the fact.
Correct. And Gabriel Rodriguez goes down a little lightly, but he does have all the power there. But you're right. They have an advantage. Come back and card him after the play. Let Chattanooga continue to go on.
Because now this is the last thing that Chattanooga wants, which has been the frustration all night for them, where Corpus Christi are able to get 11 guys back behind the ball and be organized. So Rodriguez goes into the book right around the 68th minute. Chattanooga thought they had something cooking and disrupted by a foul right outside of the penalty area. Some frustration on the part of Emerson Nieto of Corpus Christi, and now another set-piece chance. But to say that Chattanooga have wasted them tonight would be the understatement of the night.
And Corpus Christi is starting to jump in the wide spaces, but Chattanooga's able to find Minjae Kwok in this moment. He gets to go forward in the 1v1. That is where they look the most dangerous, but they have to draw out Corpus Christi. They're starting to do it more and more, and Corpus Christi is going to have to show a little more composure when they are beaten and not give up these opportunities.
Keegan Anselin, Logan Brown, two of the bigger targets where Tate Robertson and company are going to be looking. It is Robertson. It's not a bad ball in. It's Logan Brown. It's at the back stick, and there were shouts for a potential high foot, and it's eventually cleared away. A no call from the referee. Well, Chattanooga finally getting some life from a set piece. They got exactly what they wanted with the initial header from Brown. Robertson again. Trying to get to the end line. Had the door slammed shut initially by Matt Roberts. Here's Kwok. Towards the byline, gets the cross away, and a glancing header from Keegan Anselin wasn't too far away.
And the game starts to become a little bit more back-to-back, but it starts off that set piece, which was a great opportunity. Put in, the initial header was an opportunity, gets to the back post, it's cleared. There were arguments for a high kick in that moment, but then they continue to go, and it's Anselin who just darts right in front at the near post with his height. That's a dangerous opportunity and a very good cross.
That's exactly what you want from Minjae Kwok as well, coming on as fresh legs at halftime, driving towards the byline and driving at the Corpus Christi back line. Good football here from Chattanooga. Lewis Jean. Haitian turning back around, finding Anselin. Corpus Christi able to get numbers back behind the ball and set up shop. Less than 20 minutes to play. It's a bad idea on the first touch. Nieto. Maguz. Medina switching the point of attack, finding Daniel Larson. Nieto wants it again. Corpus Christi, patient, swinging it side to side and breaking lines a few yards at a time. Maguz touching it along, really good football here. And Lewis Jean with a very important intervention there. As Herrera was bearing down on goal, Maguz, a little bit of a skill check, and he passed it with flying colors.
There were a couple moments there where it was very emotional, but now both teams have really settled in possession. It's like they're starting to feel each other out and see little areas that they can take advantage of.
Here's Maguz again, and the offside flag is up.
What I've liked from Chattanooga in those moments where they're finding spaces is McGrath's come inside in the second half with Kwok coming into that wide space. McGrath is always looking to create maybe a false fullback and being able to come into certain areas on the sides of the midfield. That's helped the possession for Chattanooga going forward.
Well, we're hearing that Marcus Nagelstadt and Jesus Ibarra are coming on, two of the big hitters for this Chattanooga FC's side, especially the former Nagelstadt, who's scored over 35 goals for this club, including over 70 appearances. Anselin was tripped. Referee says play on. Ball whipped in. Grant stayed home. And Roberts chasing it down, and it'll stay with Chattanooga. Seeing the top left of your screen there, some of the Chattanooga players getting set to come on. Nagelstadt as well as Jesus Ibarra, a 27-year-old from San Diego, California, came up through the Wilmington Hammerheads Academy. Here's Lewis Jean, though. Mangarov lays it off for Keegan Anselin.
When I like this, I like the change of point, and if it happens quickly, then Corpus Christi isn't able to come to the other side and defend, but it's just a little bit too slow in those moments.
And it will be a corner for Chattanooga. Set pieces have looked much more dangerous for the home side over the past couple of tries. In swinger, Grant able to catch it. That was mighty close to being on the edge of the penalty area. Heavy touch from Lewis Jean. It's going to run out of play for a Corpus Christi throw it about 70 yards away from where the ball just was. And allows Corpus Christi to be able to move forward. And now substitutions are going to take place on either side for both Manuel Iwabuchi and Chris Nugent. We already talked about the two subs in Ibarra and Nagelstadt coming on for Chattanooga. So let's see if these fresh legs for Chris Nugent and Chattanooga FC can provide to be the spark that they so desperately need right now. Jack Thomas comes onto the scene for Corpus Christi. Just the one substitution for the visitors, and he replaces Giuseppe Santacroce.
And a lot of what Santacroce has done has just been having to play off of Rodriguez in partnership, buzz around, and so Jack Thomas is going to need to do that and really work off the back to play that they get from Gabriel Rodriguez in possession.
Cleared away by McGrath. And Ibarra couldn't hang on to it. Well played by Rodriguez, and he just slams it off the backside of Lewis Jean. Nagelstadt linking up with fellow substitute Jesus Ibarra. Some frustration there for Mangarov as he just thumps the ball in the other direction, and at a different level that would probably be an automatic yellow card for the prevention of a restart. Let's see exactly how the referee is going to handle this. And I can tell you that in Major League Soccer, that is an automatic yellow every single day of the week, and they've really cracked down on that through most parts of the American soccer pyramid, and even in Europe for that matter.
It really should be. It should be at this level as well. I mean, that stops everything for Corpus Christi trying to go the other direction.
Well, it's not going to prevent them right now. Robertson defending. This ball whipped in. Awkward here for Logan Brown. Needs to be careful as he's falling to his feet. Chance here for Corpus Christi, and it's blocked in front by Farid Sarsar. And then a crunching challenge right at the edge of the penalty area. Referee says there was all ball. Lewis Jean able to play out, but not until the step comes from Diaz. He unloads, and he sends it halfway back to Texas.
And although that did not go on frame, I like Diaz stepping in there, though, because there's a lot of gaps, a lot of transition moments. So this is really good right here. And Chattanooga lucky to not give up a foul in that moment, but stepping in, going for this, another tackle, another clearance. So it's getting a little bit combative in there. But I like this from Corpus Christi as they get numbers forward.
All it takes is that one moment, that one slip up, that one moment of individual brilliance to write your name into US Open Cup history. Didn't really look like there was much in that, and the referee is having none of the dissent coming to him from the University of Virginia product, Daniel Mangarov, as the Duluth, Georgia native picks up the yellow card in short order. There was about 0.5 seconds in between when the whistle was blown for the foul and then the yellow card being issued.
So Mangarov didn't avoid the yellow card is what we're saying. So didn't get it for kicking it away, but gets it in this moment. A foul called. It did look a little bit soft there as Medina turned, but it was the reaction that warranted the yellow.
Fiorini needed to be careful. All the way back for Cuba Grant. Nagelstad daring him to distribute. And actually did it quite well to find Larson. And thumped in the other direction by Thiago Diaz. And they'll pick up seconds through Maguz. Touched along for Gabriel Rodriguez. Was that a foul? Referee says no. And now we're starting to get into the territory of what's a foul and what's not a foul with the ref, and that's not exactly where you want to be. Alex McGrath switching the point of attack. Tate Robertson sprays it over for Milo Garvagnon. Colorado Rapids Academy product. Further along for Jesus Ibarra. One dip of the shoulder, past one. Couldn't get past the second, and Fiorini. And that ball was spinning almost to stay in play. And it's going to be a goal kick, but not before we have to stretch out some hamstrings, as there's some cramping going on right now.
This is where it's going to be interesting for Corpus Christi, because a lot of players playing a lot of minutes, so much demand on them physically from a defensive standpoint, and they're not just sitting back in a defensive block and not looking to get forward. They are looking as well to create their own attack, so there's just much more load on each of these players. So, you know, you want to say Corpus Christi maybe wants to get to extra time, but also that extra time can be really, really hard on them with how much work they've done.
So Nathan Kohler comes in and replaces Tate Robertson, as the right back's night is going to be finished here in the 83rd minute. Gabriel Rodriguez battling with Logan Brown. Jack Thomas couldn't quite clean it up. Diaz got caught in possession. Here's Mangarov. Big reach there from the long limbs of Thiago Diaz, able to atone for his sins and gain possession back. Now here's Thomas. Here's Herrera. Trying to get it back from Rodriguez. Medina. This one whipped in, met by a firm challenge, and then the shot from distance from Nieto is blocked before it can get even close to Eldin Jakubovic. Now Larson might have given it away in a tough spot there, and that sliding challenge needed to be perfect. Still waiting to see exactly what the call is here, and it looks like it is going to be a yellow card. And it was Matt Roberts who picked it up, the substitute.
Just recovering in transition. Matt Roberts goes to ground. Couldn't see if there was a ton of contact there, but Mangarov definitely goes up and around and try to get around it. But it looks like Manuel Iwabuchi didn't agree on that one. But nonetheless, they'll go back and have to defend.
Again, if we find ourselves level at the end of 90 minutes, we will go into two 15-minute halves of extra time. And then if we're still level after that, to a dreaded penalty kick shootout, single elimination in the US Open Cup. Win or go home, simple as that. No first legs, no second legs, no away goals. If you win on the day, you're through. Garvagnon was waiting a little bit too long for that to bounce, and Fiorini, who's slid into one of the central defender roles, able to clean things up momentarily. But it will be a deep throw in for Chattanooga, and you get the feeling that any goal right now would probably be the game winner.
Chattanooga is definitely looking to play a little bit more direct, but it is helping them gain ground. Then they can get up here and possess a little bit more cleanly and try to develop something in the final third.
Jack Thomas picks that pass off. And he's fouled. And it's going to be a yellow card to Louis Jean. And yellow cards are flying around here at Findlay Stadium like they're going out of style right now. Is that a yellow for you?
It's not for me. I don't think there's really a breakout opportunity there because Rodriguez is going back. It's a foul. It's an obvious foul, but for me, it's not a yellow.
The referee has issued a Terry's yellow card to CFC number 15 in the 86th minute of the match.
Medina.
Stay sharp and stay stylish with Terry.
Giving away a tough spot. Larson was out of position. Can McGrath and company take advantage of it? Last touch coming off of Mangarov, then it's back to Corpus Christi. Maguz. And Rodriguez is ripped out. Brown committing the foul. So we are knocking on the door of the 88th minute. Really have not mentioned Nagelstad's name since he's come onto the field. He has not gotten a clean touch on the ball in a position where he can really be dangerous. Here's Thiago Diaz. He's been brilliant tonight.
Hasn't been a lot of fluid play since Nagelstad has come into the game, so there's not a lot of build to find him up in that center forward position.
Here's the substitute, Nathan Kohler. Courage for Garvagnon. Fiorini. Class all the way. And gets it right back. And the referee a little bit more involved than he wanted to be. Cleared away by Farid Sarsar.
You kind of get the feeling in this matchup that the opportunities are coming from set pieces or a mistake, something at the back that's forced, because both teams are really defending well. There's not a lot of clear opportunities going forward.
Here's McGrath. Ibarra. Shot straight into one of his teammates. That was Garvagnon who was trying to challenge Cuba Grant. Ibarra almost won it back in a dangerous spot. Plenty of numbers committed forward for Chattanooga, and perhaps a counterattack brewing for Corpus Christi. But they don't have a ton left in the tank right now, which begs the question, what exactly is extra time going to look like if we get there?
Well, and Medina has been so crucial in that midfield, even defensively. Smart there to draw the foul because it looked like a very precarious situation if you're turning over possession there.
Herrera. Medina. Good football here from Corpus Christi. But a rather discombobulated press here from Chattanooga as Magoo's bringing it down. Will do well to just keep this in play, but he can't do it. As there are going to be 4 minutes of stoppage time at the minimum at the end of this one. And if we're still all level, we head to extra time. Louis Jean. Beautiful ball for Garvagnon. McGrath getting tangled up. No call from the referee. Poor control from Mangarov. Here's Ibarra. Nice little dip of the shoulder. Gets the cross away. And Cuba Grant with a flying effort to prevent the cross from getting through. That's Andres Herrera, who's down for Corpus Christi.
And Ibarra just finds some space in the wide channel. A good ball across, but Cooper Grant does really well to come out, snag that one out of the air. But you do get the sense Herrera's down, with a little bit of cramping going on, but you're also seeing that when Corpus Christi turns over the ball, the midfield is really slow to react and get back in their defensive structure. And so these last few minutes could be an opportunity for Chattanooga to try to transition a little quicker than they are. Almost a little too much composure. I love composure. I always talk about composure. I love it. But in moments like this where a transition is on, you can take advantage of it.
So Herrera will get 10-2, and we'll give you some other updates from around the first round action of US Open Cup. Lexington Soccer Club has taken a 2-0 advantage over Southern Indiana at halftime. Meanwhile, Virginia Dream up 3-1 on the Richmond Kickers as we're very much on upset alert in the DMV area. One Knoxville up 1-0 on Appalachian. That game is on the road for one Knoxville, the professional side. Sporting Kansas City 2 and Des Moines Menace still at 0-0. Sure, plenty of techers on that roster, but were they going to be able to find the back of the net? That was the real question. Little Rock Rangers and Birmingham Legion just started. They're about 20 minutes in. That's 0-0. And Inter Miami 2 and Miami United now level at 1-1 after the amateur side, Miami United, had taken a 1-0 lead. And we've already had one game completed today, and that's Columbus Crew 2 4-1 winners over the New York Renegades. Skied into the air by Larson, dealt with by Louis Jean. Magoo's attempting to bring it down, being hounded by a couple of different Chattanooga players. Garvagnon looking for the big switch. Nagelstadt almost got it away, picked off by Thiago Diaz. And Diaz wants to get forward. And he's got to be careful because Gabriel Rodriguez almost gave it away. In fact, he did. Referee's trying to play the advantage, and now the whistle is going to be blown.
There's no other option but to foul in that moment because Diaz is out. Medina looks like he's struggling there in midfield. He just needs to sit on top of that back line. But it's going to be very, very hard for these players if they don't make good decisions on the ball going forward.
Kohler. to imagine there's at least another minute or two still available after the injury to Herrera. Dinked over the top. Nagelsmann knocks it down. Mangarov gets to the byline, trying to stand it up. Magoo's straight through the legs of the defender. But Kwok putting in an excellent challenge and retaining possession. McGrath got around 2 challenges. But they're going to bring it all the way back, and now a set piece opportunity in what's probably going to be one of the last actions of regulation.
And as Chattanooga forces the pace, it causes Corpus Christi to have to react. You get tired legs, you get that emotion of wanting to go win the ball, you get these set pieces.
And now some off-the-ball shenanigans going on. We've got at least one player down that's on the side of Corpus Christi right now. And the referee is going to have a little bit to sort out, obviously with no VAR and limited technology to be able to go back and actually look at anything. Not going to be able to sort out if there was actually a nefarious play involved. So Herrera is slow to get to his feet. He was just down injured a few minutes ago. What's that chant? Off the field?
I think so.
Okay. Not the most clever chant that I've heard, but I guess it gets the point across.
He will eventually be off the field for a little bit, so.
So Herrera is actually going to be subbed off. And it's going to be Mason Dalton, 23-year-old midfielder who's going to come on and replace Herrera.
And he was having some struggles physically as well, but you also don't want to be down a player here defending this last set piece potentially of the second half.
Set piece is whipped in. Diaz into a dangerous area. And that's going to be a corner for Chattanooga. Smells like some drama. And again, there's all sorts of shenanigans occurring away from the ball and extracurricular activity. Swinger from Mangarov at the near post, and we'll do it all over again. Thiago Diaz got a touch to it.
And at this point, enough to get it out, but it was with the right thigh going across. That's a little bit of a scary moment with an in-swinger.
Mangarov again. There's a much better delivery. It's met by Mason Dalton, and that's going to do it for regulation. We're headed to extra time. Corpus Christi and Chattanooga FC, nothing to separate them after 90 minutes. And we'll have some free soccer here at Finley Stadium. Casey White, your thoughts on the 90?
Well, I think that it's been really good from Corpus Christi from a defensive standpoint, organized, but they're starting to show signs of getting really tired, and so I think it's going to be hard for them to battle for the next 30.
Drama, drama, drama. Stay with us wherever you might be watching. Chattanooga and Corpus Christi headed to extra time. All right, welcome back into Finley Stadium. Tyler Terrence along with Casey White, and we've got 30 minutes of extra time coming your way to try to decide who is moving on to the second round of the U.S. Open Cup. Chattanooga wearing their navy blue kits, Corpus Christi wearing their whites. We are still on cup set alert, and away we go in extra time. Nothing to separate these two sides in 90 minutes of action, and who's to say that there's going to be anything to separate them for the next 30, and if we can't, then obviously we'll head to penalties. But Chattanooga have struggled mightily to deal with this very organized, very disciplined, and very stingy Corpus Christi group who operate in USL League 2, their first ever foray into this competition. Meanwhile, Chattanooga have been here 9 times before this game and have gotten as far as the third round or the round of 32, depending on the iteration of the tournament. Corpus Christi have already had to sub off a couple of players due to injury and perhaps a lack of fitness, and that's what you're going to get from an amateur side. They're not paid to do this. They do not do it every day. Fitness levels wax and wane, and there's a big discrepancy throughout the spectrum for Emmanuel Iwabuchi. But right now, they certainly look the part, and they do not look like they are scared of the moment. As Jack Thomas, one of those substitutes who came on, getting back from Daniel Larson, who got forward. Thomas trying to win himself a corner, kept it in play, and kept in the neighborhood by Larson. And then Eldin Jakupovic, the 40-year-old goalkeeper, able to cover it up. He had a couple of saves at the end of the first half, but nothing really to speak of in the second. But Casey, as we move into this extra time period, you sort of fear for Corpus Christi and what this is going to look like from a fitness standpoint.
You really do, because this is where we talked about their discipline, but it has to become even more compact, more disciplined. And it does look to those of us watching this that they're trying to push for a goal. But what comes with that is you get stretched out, there's more openings, and if you don't have that physical fitness piece, it's going to be really difficult. So I think for Nieto and Medina, sitting in front of the back line actually is the better route for them with how they're looking right now.
Again, there's no golden goal in this extra time in this competition, as we will have two 15-minute halves, regardless of if there are goals or not. On this Chattanooga side, again, just their third competitive game of the calendar year. For Corpus Christi, this is their first. They operate in USL League 2, and that typically kicks off in late spring, early summer. And again, a very heavily rotated squad, and really not any of the same characters that got to the national quarterfinals of USL League 2 this past summer. That performance was good enough to earn them one of the top 9 bids from USL League 2 into this tournament. Chattanooga getting their bid for quite simply existing in MLS Next Pro, which is 3rd division in the American soccer pyramid. Narrowly missing out on the playoffs in MLS Next Pro in their first year in the league in 2024. Gianluca Fiorini, he's been excellent tonight. Mason Dalton trying to track it down, but it's all the way back for Jakupovic.
Well, just a second ago, you can see Logan Brown trying to find Ibarra's feet. There is a lot of space between the back line and midfield line of Corpus Christi, so they can find Nagelstad or Ibarra in that area. You'll have players running at the back line, but easier said than done against the compact shape.
Here's Nathan Kohler. And Dalton with a little bit of work to do now. He was inviting a dance partner, and he certainly got one, but didn't get the clearance right. Chance here, Nagelstad on the turn, and all the way straight into the back of Daniel Larson, and cleaned up by Kwok. McGrath. Jesus Ibarra. Farid Sarsar and the Haitian Steve Lewis-Jean. And Minjae Kwok is offside. Again, we'll keep you updated with the other U.S. Open Cup games that are currently going on right now. Virginia Dream are 10 minutes away from an upset over the Richmond Kickers. Lexington Soccer Club 2-0 over Southern Indiana, an amateur side. Started the second half, Little Rock Rangers and Birmingham Legion, 36th minute, no score in that game. And of course, Sporting Kansas City 2 and Des Moines Menace 0-0 at halftime. While one Knoxville have taken a 2-0 lead over Appalachian in the final 20 minutes of the second half. And Inter Miami 2 have scored 3 unanswered goals against Miami United. As Corpus Christi will earn themselves a free kick here, and they haven't had too many set-piece opportunities tonight.
But Jack Thomas has done really well since coming on late in the second half, just buzzing around Rodriguez there, being really smart, using back to goal, using that aggression against him to draw the set piece.
And it looks like there's only going to be one player who takes this for Corpus Christi. Gabriel Rodriguez, as he immediately went to go grab the ball. And it looks like Thomas and Emerson Nieto are going to defer. Rodriguez going for goal, and Jakupovic eventually able to slide over and collect in what was a rather easy save in the end. And it was always going to be difficult for Rodriguez on that angle as a lefty to be able to really challenge Jakupovic. Logan Brown getting forward, University of Dayton product. And the Flyer will switch the point of attack. Barna was cutting inside, but again dealt with by this stern Corpus Christi back line. Mangarov, former Virginia Cavalier. Ibarra, hopeful cross, and met by Larson.
While there is a fatigue factor for the Chattanooga side as well, they do look to be a little bit more lively. 1 and 2 touch in that final third, I think, can really help them. McGrath has been really good on the ball, so I'd like to see him get on it and try to combine in that central area.
Lewis Jean. Logan Brown again. We're hearing that Robert Screen is getting set to come on and he'll replace Daniel Mangarov. Good football here, though, from Chattanooga. McGrath fizzes it in. Nagelstop will send it out wide. Here's Kwok. Straight at Cuba Grant, and that's the lack of quality that's sort of been a consistent theme all night, Casey.
It has been some really good play to be able to spring Kwok into that outside channel, but it's those final details of cross, whipping balls in. It's just too easy for the goalkeeper.
Don't be nasty. Call the taxi.
Nieto. A little bit of frustration coming to the surface for Mangarov. Kwok able to take it away from Maguz, who pulls up with an injury. That's also been a theme tonight for Corpus Christi, but to no surprise, anybody who's watched the first round of the U.S. Open Cup before with a lot of these amateur sides. Kohler going to ground and gets the better of 2 different Corpus Christi defenders, and they're exposed at the moment. Chattanooga on the run. Pulled back and dealt with by Fiorini, and a set-piece opportunity again for Chattanooga FC. Maguz goes down. He'll need some attention, as do about 2 of his comrades as well. And it's all unraveling right now.
There's not a lot of positive news right now for Corpus Christi with him going down, but they do have 4 or 5 players at the back, so they still were able to deal in transition.
So Screen, the 24-year-old from Raleigh, North Carolina, came up through the North Carolina FC Academy, attended University of Kentucky for several years, and then eventually found his way onto the Forward Madison side in League One. And it looks like Manuel Iwabuchi is going to be forced to make 2 substitutions, as Oliver Pardo is going to come on and replace the metronome in the middle, Arthur Medina. We'll see if that's a like-for-like switch. And then it's also going to be Kyle Barganski. The 16-year-old coming on. Pardon me, the 17-year-old Barganski, and he'll replace Fiorini. And Fiorini has been a huge part of that back line tonight. And here's the ensuing corner for Chattanooga FC. Decent looking ball, and Cuba Grant got caught off, and I believe that a lot of the supporters section thinks that Chattanooga scored, but they'll find out in just a few moments that that was not the case. And their reactions had me doubting whether or not this ball went into the back of the net, but it clearly went out of play.
Kohler does a really good job fighting off some holds there, it looked like, from Rodriguez to get to the back post, and he's in a little bit of disbelief, but just not able to get it back on frame.
Here's Jack Thomas putting on the brakes, trying to get a shot away. It's still Jack Thomas and still dancing. But a poor decision in the end. He probably should have just tried to go for goal, even if there was traffic in front. And now there's most certainly going to be a yellow card pulled out.
The referee has issued a carried yellow card warning.
And it's Barganski, who literally just came on, the 17-year-old, and he's going to go into the book.
Just doing all you can really do right there to stop transition the opposite way.
Here's Logan Brown. Good play again from Daniel Larson. Some key central midfielders and central defenders have had to be subbed off for Corpus Christi, and their back line looks a lot different than what we saw for the first 90 minutes or so. Mason Dalton trying to head in the direction of Jack Thomas and company. Nago really stop. Poked out wide for McGrath. Whipped in, but straight into the hands of Cuba Grant. Corpus Christi wanted to shove in the back on Magoo's. Brought down by McGrath. Magoo's trying to switch the point of attack. Clock was there, and then Daniel Larson with an uncharacteristic first touch.
There's going to be those moments at this point in the game, and you mentioned new players coming into their defensive structure. That could be really hard to make sure it still stays really stingy, but so far they've come into it and had some really good partnerships.
McGrath lets one fly, and Cuba Grant able to cover it up. but a shot from about 25 yards out is arguably the best chance of the night for Chattanooga FC.
And that's the space that's being given up, is just if you can beat that line in the midfield, there is a little bit of space because their back line is retreating and not stepping to block that opportunity. But it does say something that they were able to limit the opportunities to a shot from distance. And it's McGrath that's just off the dribble and no one stepping to play. They're starting to converge. It's a good strike, and you never know. A goalkeeper could cough that one up for a rebound, but Grant does really well to hold on.
So we'll have 2 minutes of stoppage time at the end of this first half of extra time. Larson will just clear it out of any further danger. Chattanooga FC side did lose in the first round of the U.S. Open Cup last year, as this is sent into space for Milo Garvanyan. It looks like it came off of him last, and it'll be back to Corpus Christi. Magoo's couldn't bring it down, but he's laboring right now. And he's been hurt for the past 7 or 8 minutes or so, as Cooper Grant will scoop it up. Nagelstein will dare him to, and Grant will just fall on the ball. And that's the dark arts of the game that's going to rear its ugly head. If you're on the side of Chattanooga, and if you're a Corpus Christi fan watching at home right now, you're saying take as much time as you would like, because getting to penalties is probably the goal at this point for Corpus Christi, given all the injuries that have unfolded. But Casey White, your thought on the first 15 minutes of extra time?
Well, I think you said it right there, is they're going to be hoping to get into penalties at this point. They have to just stay in their shape because they do not have the energy to make this end to end at any point.
All right, we're going to step aside one more time. When we come back, the second half of extra time here from Finley Stadium in Chattanooga, Tennessee. It is still Chattanooga 0 and Corpus Christi 0 in the first round of the 110th edition of the Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup. You've stuck with us this long. Why would you leave at this point? Don't go anywhere. Just about set for the second half of extra time from Chattanooga. Again, Tyler Terrence along with the incomparable Casey White. And we have seen a lot of scoreless soccer right now. And for those of you who are true organic grass-fed lovers of the beautiful game, this is just what the doctor ordered for you as we're trying to decide who's moving on to the second round of the 110th edition of the Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup. Everybody's favorite competition because of the one word, cup set. Can Corpus Christi pull it off in their first ever foray into the Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup, or will it be Chattanooga FC? This is their 10th appearance in the competition, getting a step further than what they did a year ago after getting bounced by Miami United, who are in fact losing. Or in fact, that game is now complete against Inter Miami 2. Miami United beating Chattanooga last year in the opening round. Obviously, an embarrassing result for the professional side. Always losing to an amateur group is never fun. But of course, it's the balance and sort of the dichotomy between the two sides. And this is just simply another game in a round that Chattanooga is trying to get through for Corpus Christi. This might as well be their UEFA Champions League final. And we are getting word that the Des Moines Menace have registered their first goal of the tournament. We'll wait to see exactly who from the 2013 Major League Soccer All-Star team it was that scored the goal. And it was Sasha Kleshin, the leader of that group, from the penalty spot. Magoo's, who's been battling an injury since early on in extra time, continues to limp his way across the field. And if you are Corpus Christi, Casey, it's get to penalties. Meanwhile, if you're Chattanooga, they could probably pay 250 minutes of soccer tonight. It doesn't look like they're going to score a goal. It
really doesn't. It looks like if they are, it's off a mistake potentially that could come out of the back. But you're right. Magoo's has been struggling ever since Herrera was subbed out, Medina was subbed out. But he's having to stay in there and still cover a lot of ground. So it's not been easy for him or the Corpus Christi players. But you're right, Chattanooga just doesn't have that intentionality in the final third to really be incisive in the way that they're breaking through the back line.
Here's Garvagnon, formerly of New Mexico United in the new USL Championship. And Steve Louis-Jean pushes it across for Kwok. And he commits the foul.
I don't mind this from Kwok. It's an obvious foul, of course, but I just like that he's putting his head down, trying to make something happen in the final third, just get behind that pressure. It doesn't work out this time, but I like this from him. He wants the ball, he's asking for it, and he's looking to take on. But Roberts does really well, just gets his body in front to defend.
Thomas trying to rise for the header. Logan Brown finding Jesus Ibarra, and that is an excellent challenge from Daniel Larson. Well, it was a beautiful night for some soccer here at Finley Stadium. Temperatures were around 55, 60 degrees at the time of kickoff. It's obviously dropped a little bit, but the crowd have made their way out to Finley, getting a little bit more than they bargained for. Not just the play on the field from Corpus Christi, as this is unloaded from distance by Alex McGrath and punched away by Cuba Grant. That's the first real save that he's had to make in quite some time. And now a little bit of life after that shot on goal for Chattanooga, as the press is coming with a little bit more intensity. And here's the shot from McGrath again.
It's just that half space from McGrath. I like that he takes it on the second touch off the bounce. A good save, though, from Grant and just out of danger.
McGrath now switching the point of attack, and Garvagnon just has to see it out of play. Jack Thomas staying with it, gets around Louis Jean. Shrugged off the ball by McGrath, who in one motion collects the ball and says get up to the defender. And then the foul is called against Corpus Christi, and they're going to feel hard done by that sequence. Well, it certainly wasn't a foul initially on Jack Thomas, but foul called against them. Probably could have gone either way, and McGrath inching forward again. Screen. Garvagnon. He's been rather dormant on this left wing. Getting forward from the left wing back position.
When you play an opposition with a 5-back, you really are dependent on those outside backs to get forward, and we haven't seen a whole lot of it, like you mentioned, off this left side. A little bit more off the right side early on from Robertson, but they want to try to use that to draw out the outside backs, and it just isn't happening.
Garvagnon again. Good delivery in, knotted down! And finally, we've got our breakthrough! And it's the veteran, Marcus Nagelstam. 112 minutes in, finally Chattanooga can breathe.
And this is exactly the type of play that we've been talking about throughout this game that would be beneficial Chattanooga FC. It's in the wide space, and Garvagnon does extremely well to get involved. We've seen it these last few minutes, getting a little higher. Ball played in behind the back line there, which is really good by screen. It eliminates a player, and then the early ball in, but what a header. It's absolutely textbook from Nagelstam, straight into the ground, and a great finish.
Well, the 33-year-old, now in his 5th season with the club, obviously going back to their Nisa days, has made over 70 appearances, has scored more than 35 goals for Chattanooga, and finally gives them some reprieve after what has been a grueling night against Corpus Christi.
This is really interesting now because Corpus Christi has to push, but now there should be gaps all over the place for Chattanooga to potentially, maybe, if I say it, get one more just to put it out of reach. But that's ultimately what happens when a team is pushing forward. But do they have the legs to do it? Do they have the energy to step up and try to create something for the equalizer?
Well, we reached a point at the beginning of extra time where we're really just imagining that Corpus Christi were holding on for dear life for penalties. Bodies were dropping left and right. Guys were cramping up. Substitutions had to be made. And it's tough to envision a world where Corpus Christi have enough in the tank to be able to throw numbers forward and be able to break down Chattanooga for that equalizer.
They're going to have to be smart to try to draw fouls like this, use set-piece opportunities to their advantage. So just that mental side of understanding the gamesmanship of it can really help them in this moment.
Nagelstam is, I'm no mathematician, but that's not 10 yards away from the ball. Lofted in. That's going to just be a throw-in for Chattanooga. Now it looks like a little bit of cramping going on for Chattanooga. I believe that's Logan Brown who's down for the home side. This will obviously take a little bit of the sting out of what Corpus Christi was trying to muster up in terms of the equalizer.
I think you would expect to see maybe some more direct balls into Rodriguez's feet. I'm not saying playing it behind. They don't have the energy necessarily to do that. Or maybe if they do, it's one time, and so it has to be in a transition moment. But putting a few more players high to help Rodriguez around him could be something they could do to just try to get numbers in and around the final third.
Well, Logan Brown continues to get worked on, and we'll see if there's going to be a substitution or not. Seems to be some confusion with the referee, the benches, the fourth official as to exactly what's happening, and now we are going to get the substitution. And Ethan Dudley will replace Logan Brown, who fought valiantly for about 114 minutes or so, but succumbing to a cramp. There's about 5 minutes remaining on the night. Just thumped away by McGrath. And Oliver Pardo couldn't quite control it, and trickles all the way out of play. And Chattanooga will take their sweet time now in the driver's seat, knowing that they just simply need to see the game out and not make any silly mistakes. Awkward here from Cooper Grant and company, and eventually covered up by the goalkeeper. It's not a convincing header, and Corpus Christi will do well to go quickly here. Maguz. Too close to Jakupovic.
There are moments here where Chattanooga can just slow down a little bit. They were trying to get that second goal when it makes sense, but now it's just taking the sting out of the game a little bit. Even though Corpus Christi is dealing with a little bit more of the fatigue, it looks like, so is Chattanooga. We just saw it with Logan Brown, but other players definitely have put in some major shifts here this evening.
Robert Screen trying to get on the other side. He did well, and he draws the foul. Chattanooga's setting up to probably just touch the ball and keep it in the corner, and that's exactly what's going to unfold. Screen. Trying to send it across, and Chattanooga rather cheaply give possession away. Kohler thumping it away. The final minute of play. Of course, we'll have a few minutes added on for stoppage time after the injury to Logan Brown.
I like the direct ball in there, though, from Cooper Grant. It makes players get a little bit higher up. It's just very, very difficult to get on it. They got to be running off the header of Rodriguez.
And we're hearing there's going to be 2 minutes of stoppage time, unconfirmed right now. Jakupovic sends it away. Met by Dalton in the middle of the park. Rodriguez going for goal on the first time, and Jakupovic will happily see it out of play.
It would take something really special from there. You don't fault Rodriguez for trying it. I like that Diaz is stepping into midfield, trying to get numbers higher, but very difficult to beat Jakupovic from that distance. But right there, Diaz gets the touch on it and just turn and hit it. That's a true goal scorer. Once the scorer wants to make a difference, just too far out.
Just like you were back in the day, right? True goal
Yeah,
scorer.
something like that. Yeah.
Best goal kick from Jakupovic and almost spelled trouble for Chattanooga. And Corpus Christi really do not have much left in the tank at all. Good work for Corpus Christi coming by way of Matthew Roberts and just mashed in the other direction by Carvagnon. That most likely is going to do it. Corpus Christi are trying to hustle and expedite the proceedings, and Sarsar is going to take his time, hand it off to his teammate, Robert Screen. And a set piece opportunity for Corpus Christi, and they're going to throw everybody forward now. And this will most certainly be the last action of the night. Second time tonight that Nagelstad has inched a little bit too close to the ball. And it is a football field, and you can see where the lines are, so 10 yards is pretty easy to make out.
I think he can figure it out
Yeah.
if he really wants to.
Sent in. First ball is dealt with. Roberts on the turn. Clip towards the back post. And it trickles all the way out of play, and that's going to do it full time. Chattanooga FC survive. And we'll head on to the second round, but a valiant effort from the USL League 2 side. Corpus Christi in their US Open Cup debut. It was not meant to be. No cup set will be had in Tennessee as the home side, Chattanooga, by the skin of their teeth, and thanks to their veteran and talisman, Marcus Nagelstad, will move on into the second round. There was plenty to do for Chattanooga. Corpus Christi, despite the fact that they came in with a heavily rotated side from a group that got to the national quarterfinals over the summer, put on quite the show on the road. Now, we always knew it was going to be an interesting contest, and we had to wait 112 minutes before we eventually found our goal, and here it is. Carvagnon, excellent delivery, and eventually Nagelstad gets the game winner in the 112th minute. For our entire crew here at US Soccer and Casey White, Tyler Terran saying so long for now, and have a good night.